From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Beres here with you on a Tuesday. We're going to open up the phone lines for you, and we're going to introduce our guest to you, who we haven't seen in a couple of months or so. It's been a while. I thought he'd maybe kind of just moved on, left us behind. But no, he's a loyal follower of this program, I might add, and he's been tweeting all morning about how he's coming on the big show. We haven't seen him since a big criminal case that he was involved with. We'll touch on that and some other things, but I'm happy to welcome this morning Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall, who, by the way, was just sworn in for your 6th term as sheriff.
That's all true. It sounds...
6th?
You aged me by saying that.
4-year terms. You'll be going on to, I guess, 20 years now, 24 years when it's all said and done. How about that?
I don't know. I at one time I was the youngest person to do it. Now I'm the oldest.
Isn't
I think.
That crazy?
I don't know what the. But no, it's flown by, and so many different pieces to that. But we started young, and I was in my 30s, and when we got elected, which is hard to imagine when I think back on that. And then, I don't know. I love the people I get to work with. The job is all sorts of challenges, but I still love what I do, and I appreciate being able to do it. It's a weird way to go out in front of, I can't even explain it. That part of putting yourself into an elected position where you're, letting the people decide there's anxiety about it. I don't even know what to say. You work hard in your job, you think, what if they don't think so after?
Right.
And you put your name out there and see what happens.
It's a different thing. I mean, you're elected. The police chief, is basically hired by the mayor, but you're elected. Your boss is the public directly.
Yeah,
and so congratulations, by the way. I mean, that is an accomplishment. In the pantheon of sheriffs in this district, or I guess county, how many have served longer than you?
The longest was 18 years. That was Faye Thomas.
That's what I thought.
We're beyond that. And
wow, how about that? Did you think when you were elected, and I do remember when you were chief deputy behind Gail Ray, okay? And so it's funny, you and I both, when I came to this market, I was one of the younger ones. Of course, now I'm one of the older ones in the station, and you've matured on the job. But did you think you would be sheriff? Did you think that far ahead when you were elected? You're like, look, I'm going to go term by term. We'll see how it goes.
I didn't. I'm kind of a put your head down and take off, and that was the first.
Me too. And then you look up, you're like, wow.
I know, and I think there's not really a path that was laid out. It's been interesting. Building the facilities the last 7, 8, 9 years, has really taken a lot of energy. I was also in the national, associations for years. So each kind of term, it feels like there's been something that's kind of been the focus, and I don't even think that was planned out either. But I think the moving political winds in Nashville and our country are really when it's all over for me, is something looking back on that just trying to stay, I hate the word independent, it sounds corny, but just, a little bit not caught up in the political issues. I've tried very hard to not do that. I mean, some of them reflect on us, whether it be, death penalty or crime related, but just try not to get involved with a lot of the activism on issues because the job is what it is. And, I really don't, the partisan part of our country, as I think we'd all agree, has gotten deeper and deeper and more rigid. Nashville's getting that way. I mean, I really feel like even the battle between the state and the city, and that's really never been this difficult. And so when you're trying to get things done at the legislature, or you're trying to get things done, we have a pretty complicated issue with the state right now. That's just disappointing. It's hard. I understand it from a spectator sport, but something makes it a little more. Or less appealing, I think. But I'm, so fortunate and blessed. We have the best people in the world that work for us, do great work, and I really believe that. That's what I enjoy most. And I said to him years ago, maybe one of the first or second terms, that it was kind of like, like coaching the Yankees or the Lakers. I mean, it's an all-star team of people that do great things, and only I could mess that up. I mean, so just try not to.
And you didn't mess it up. I mean, I think the sheriff's department, when you took over for Gail Ray, was not being poorly run. I mean, it was functioning. But think of all the changes. How many mayors have you worked with? 6?
6 at least.
6 maybe, at least 6. And then, but just the changes, I guess. What would you say, and you've evolved with it, certainly. That's the important thing. You haven't stayed status quo. I mean, you've evolved as times have changed. I think with this new jail talking about the mental health aspect of it. I think when you were first elected, that wasn't looked at in the same way now. What's the biggest change you think from when you were first elected to now entering your 6th term that has changed what you've done on the job or how you approach it?
Yeah, you know, so
it's probably more than one thing.
And I went to college, you know, believe it or not, in criminology. I was really interested in this whole world that we're in. I don't know that I ever thought I would be running an organization, but subjects that weren't in there, immigration wasn't in the conversations in college, nor was mental health. I mean, they didn't talk about that as a part of the criminal justice system. And those two issues in my 20 years have been substantial issues, whether it's, you know, we were all deeply involved with an immigration situation that we've talked about many times, and mental health is another one. And I'm talking more about the criminal justice system being used to resolve issues that it really isn't designed to do. And I'm just using immigration and mental health because of two, but there's many others. And I think that's probably something that I've kind of grown to understand. I say this a lot now, that it's being misused, really. I mean, mental health is a great example where a person who is off their medications naked in the park should never try to be resolved through a court and a judge and a jail and a police chief and a DA. That just makes zero sense to any rational person if you back away. The reality is the police are called by the public to have a naked person taken away, and then the system just takes off. And then we just kind of use the system to solve or try to solve something that it's not designed to do. And I think if you'd asked me on the front end, that's been the biggest surprise, just kind of looking at what the criminal justice system is doing and is used to do. I think the biggest challenge, and it's just the reality, is the employees.
That's the biggest thing, coming out of COVID especially, but a whole new generation of folks graduating that have different. We did a story, how long ago was it that you and I did the story on how you had shifted your hiring practices to, which was new, saying, look, we'll consider part-time correctional officers. You know, part-timers, like, you want to work, you know, driving Uber, you want to work in a bar, and then 2 days work over at the jail. And you did. So give me an update on that. First of all, a lot of people are having trouble hiring. Are you still getting not enough recruits, or how's it going?
Yes, so today on paper we'd have 130 vacancies, and that's just unheard of.
130 vacancies.
We probably had 160 when I think 3 months ago you did a story.
Well, you were concerned. I mean, you were worried at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, I mean, we're not like the police. For example, if tonight a police officer calls in sick or can't get to work, or they're short because of a vacancy, what that really means is a zone in Nashville doesn't have an officer in it, so you would be called from another zone to come respond to a call in that zone. So that makes your response time go up, but they can function without an officer or two on shifts. Now, granted, we'd prefer they not have that, but that's the way it works. I can't do that. Someone has to be on this post right now.
Somewhere in the jail. That has to be there for security and everything else.
Right, opening doors and feeding people, getting medications. You can't just say, well, we'll wait till tomorrow and do that. I mean, you've got to have that body. So we are in a unique situation of mandating staffing. We have certain, so when you have a vacancy, what we're doing is paying someone overtime to work those vacancies over and over and over again. And we've had over 100 plus, nearly 200 at one time. It was a critical point. And I had a friend of mine who's a sheriff in Madison, Wisconsin, and he called the National Guard in the middle of to help him cover his post back a while back. So I just said we got to think outside the box. So I met with a lot of the staff and asked them questions about what prevented you from coming earlier, why did you come here, why do your friends not come here, and I call it focus groups. I do a lot of that work and love hearing those questions. One of them was, it takes too long to get hired. I put in here for 9 or 10 weeks and I went on to something else. That's what you would hear from people. So I said, well, that's just ridiculous. So why does it take us so long? I met with my people. Well, you have a civil service exam, a drug test, a background check. All these things are important to us, and it takes weeks to get all that data back. And I said, well, why don't we go the other way? If Nick Beres right now, if Nick Beres applies to the sheriff's office, we used to wait till you cleared all those hurdles and offer you a job. Now, if you apply tonight, we'll call you tomorrow and say, welcome to the sheriff's office. We hire you immediately, put you at what we call onboarder. It's a word. Like
probationary?
You just come to work and you shadow me. You learn from me until our next training class starts. We're paying you to watch and learn. More importantly, we have you on the payroll. You have benefits.
You're there.
You're not out looking for work.
And the assumption is you'll get all those others. Some of those are important, like, I don't know, background checks.
We will get them done over the next, sure.
But while you're doing that, the person, you've already snagged them, they're in the system, and you're like, barring something coming up that precludes you from being here, you're on board.
You can't fully function as a correctional officer until you finish the class.
I see.
That's coming. We started this morning, yesterday morning, we started 50 people. We've never had 40.
No. You told me that this morning. I'm like, wow.
50 people is a large chunk of people, and that's the full-time jobs.
Okay, so let's get to the other part of this.
Yeah, so let's just compare you and I. Let's say we both are 25 years old, want to go work in the sheriff's office. I may have a child and a wife, and I want benefits because I have daycare and or medical expenses and so forth. And so my salary, if you want to call it, that's $50,000 a year, and I get benefits. You're 25 years old, you're single, you work at Uber twice a week, you work security at concerts, and you're just looking for something to do. You don't want benefits, you don't want health care, you think you're bulletproof, and you're never going to have a pension here, you just want to work a while. We take the cost of the pension and the cost of the health care and roll it into an hourly rate and pay you more hourly than I'm making.
Yep.
Side by side. You don't have benefits, I do. We're doing the same job. We started this as a result of a focus group and said, you know what, young people don't want full-time. Young people surely don't want a pension.
That's where the culture's changed. Some of them, they want more freedom.
We have 70-something people filling post right now, and it's amazing what and I met with the groups of them, and they'll say, I said, what do you like about it? Flexibility. What does that mean? I work the shifts I want to work. They give me the shifts that are available. I pick the ones I want. I come in, I work my 12 hours, I go. They're making $800 for 2 days work.
Could that change week to week? They look at that shift and say, well, listen, next week I've got this recital with my daughter, so I can't work that hour, but I can work this 8-hour shift. Are shifts typically 8 hours?
12.
Or 12 hours. 12 hours, okay.
And you have to work the full shift. You can't do a piece of a shift. But yeah, we let you pick it. And Nick, I tell you where we're headed. We've got some technology folks working on this, where it eventually will be online to our staff. You can be at home going, I'm going to pick Tuesday. You'll plug yourself in to the shifts moving forward. Right now, we're managing it for you. Which shifts do you want plugging you in? Eventually, we see it as a pool of candidates who are qualified to do it, who go on and train to do it, go in and fill in their own block, and then the boxes get filled in, and we take off. I mean,
and it's worked.
It's working.
We're going to take a break, but you're saying right now you're filling the spaces that you had to fill.
Yeah, we're in a much better place, and I actually see us kind of being in a position of going, no, we're going to pick the people we want again.
So now you can be a little more selective.
Right.
Wow. All right. I think that's great, because when we did that story, I'm like, gosh, do we have enough people to run the jail? All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we can take some phone calls if you have in general about the sheriff, the jail, and the like. We're also going to talk to him about the big criminal case that we haven't seen and had a chance to talk to him about since 2 months. That's Alex Friedmann, the planting of the weapons in the jail. He was convicted, sentencing coming up. We'll talk to the sheriff about that and more right after this.